Alright folks, let's talk canine. This tooth is a real MVP. It's all about that sharp cups for tearing food. Look at those curves. We have got a single, prominent cups and two sleek ridges on either side. Can you say style? Because this tooth is serving looks. First thing first, let's check out our star of the show, the canine tooth. It's got that cool, pointed crown and sneaky little root. Now we're gonna make it look so real. Student, get set. Set up your workspace with a sprinkle of fantasism and great lighting. Check your tools and have your reference model handy. Now, before we dive in, let's grab our toolkit. Here is what you all need. The first one, you need a marker, ruler, lacquer cover, wax knife and wax block. Make sure it's nice and soft, and also make sure the wax block is ready to go. It should be soft enough to carve but still firm enough to hold its shape. Before we start carving, like usual, start with measure and divide the wax block into 3 segments, which are for the base, root, and the crown. You all need to measure 0.5 cm or 5 mm for the base of the wax block, plotting it using a ruler and a marker. Start by marking a horizontal line. This will help you accurately plot your measurement on a wax block. Next, measure 1.4 cm or 14 mm for the crown, and the remaining we can leave it for the root around 1.5 cm or 15 mm. Now, you can start placing your measurement on each aspect using a ruler and a marker. Students, don't forget to repeat the step on the other aspect also. Now, dear student, we have just completed marking 1.4 cm for the crown, 1.5 cm for the root, and lastly 0.5 cm for the base. Here is the step where you need to level the sides of the wax block. Compare it properly. Don't rush. Here, using a marker, label LB for labial, P for palatal, M for mesial, and then D for distal. Alright, done for labeling. Safety goggles on? Check! let's jump into the fun part, outlining our tooth. Grab your marker and let's make some magic. Before that, you need to mark on the midline for our superhero cup. Mark on the center. Make sure for this tooth, the mesial slope must be slightly shorter than the distal slope. Mark as many as you need. For me, I also mark on the CEJ to make sure it's accurate. Sketching time! Draw that iconic crown and tap it down to the root. Remember, we want that sharp point. The crown should be the star of the show. So let's make it shine. While outlining your tooth, think of it as stressing a masterpiece. You also can use your Lacron cover to sketch if you want to. If so, use your Lacron cover lightly. No pressure, just a gentle touch. It's all about those curves. The key here is to keep it symmetrical and sharp, just like a ninja. Take your time and let those creative juices flow. Alright folks, time to grab our carving knife. Let's carve that crown. It's time to shape that glorious cup. Start at the tip and carve down the sides. Remember, it's all about those smooth moves. Like a dance, just carve away from your body folks. We want art, not accidents. Look at that action. We are creating a masterpiece. If you mess up, don't sweat it. Just channel your inner artist. Hear this. Every great sculpture has a few battle scars. Once you have got that crown looking fierce, it's time to shape that sides. Canine are all about those cool angles. So make it fierce, make it fun. And if it's look a bit wonky, just embrace the quirkiness. We love a unique tooth. Reminder student, tooth 1-3 has a prominent cups that make it stand out. Give it a strong, angular shape with a sharp pointy incisor edge. Carve out the heroic cups, making it the star of the show. This tooth cup is like its power punch, so make it bold and defined. Smooth out the cups to give that polished superhero look. This step is defining the mesial and distal sides. The mesial side should be slightly flat while the distal side curve more dramatically. Channel your inner sculptor to create the contours with precision. Now, it's time to proceed for the root. We're going to start by establishing the overall shape of the root. The canine root is long, narrow, and tapers toward a sharp point. So, let's first remove a large chunk of wax to get a rough, cylindrical shape. You're not aiming for perfection just yet. Think of this as laying down the framework for a sculpture. Use your wax knife or larger carving tool. Hold the tool like a paintbrush, steady and control, and start shaving away at the wax block in long, gentle strokes. Watch how the excess wax begin to peel off almost like skin, leaving you with the first hint of the tooth root. Feel the smoothness as you go. With each stroke, focus on overall symmetry. Feel the resistance of the wax beneath your tool as you define the curve. The goal is soft, natural taper, not an abrupt point. A gentle slope down the length of the root, curving slightly upward toward the midline before tapering again as you approach the apex. Alright folks, the first step is done. Now, we proceed with outlining the distal side. Take the reference model, put side by side and compare it properly. Repeat the step as you used to do before. Plot where the cingulum is, the cups in the center. Continue by outlining the tooth and laying the dots accurately. This will give us a good base to work with. As we have the general shape of the tooth, it's time to carve the distal side. The distal side is the side facing away from the midline of the mouth. The distal surface of the canine is often a little more concave than the mesial side, and the contour is usually a bit flatter. Start near the cups and create a slightly more concave curve as you move downward. Unlike the mesial side, which is rounded, the distal side should have a subtle inward curve, especially near the middle of the tooth, tapering off to the root. Use short control strokes and be mindful of the shape. Don't go too deep. because the concavity should be gentle, a soft inward curve that mimics the natural anatomy of the canine. It should not be a sharp dip. If you compare the mesial to the distal, the mesial will be more rounded and the distal will have more of an inward curve. Please keep checking your work from different angles. Now that both the mesial and distal surfaces are taking shape, it's time to define the incisor edge, the top cutting edge of the canine. This edge is sharp and triangular, which is what gives the canine its iconic pointed look. Using your wax knife and carefully define the incisor edge between the mesial and distal surfaces. The canine should have a pointed V-shaped edge and you will want to sharpen it without it too thin. The angle should be precise but the edge should not be too sharp. With the mesial and distal surfaces defined, it's time to refine the transition between them. Look for any abrupt lines or flat spots between two surfaces. A real canine has smooth, flowing transitions from the mesial to the distal. We want to make sure there is no sharp distinction between the sides, just a gentle, seamless flow. Here, in this step, you can either use your finer tools or wax knife to soften any hard lines. Carefully smooth out the areas where the mesial and distal curves meet. This is where the artistry comes in. Take your time and just don't rush. Now we are getting to the fun part, the palatal surface. This is where the tooth start to take on its personality. The palatal side of a canine has a subtle concave shape that sets it apart from labial side. It is where the tooth interacts with the hard palate, and it is the area that demands the attention to details. Using your wax knife, gently begin shaping the palatal side. The goal here is a smooth inward curve, starting from the top near the incisor edge. Carefully carve a concave surface that dips down toward the root. As you carve, pay attention to the feel of the wax. The surface should glide beneath your tool, revealing a graceful inward curve. Don't rush it, let each stroke define the surface step by step. Keep checking your work from different angles. The concave surface should gently curve without harsh edges. Students, I almost forget, look at the bulge. It is for the cingulum, the crowning feature on the palatal side of the canine. As the lingual surface should be concave, it focusing on creating the cingulum, a supportive sidekick to the main carves. This is the bulging ridge that located at the cervical area of the tooth, just before it meets the root. It is subtle but essential detail that makes the one tree stand out from the rest. Without the cingulum, the tooth would feel flat, like a shape without soul. To carve the cingulum, sculpt a raised ridge that gently curves inward toward the root. It should feel like the tooth is bulging just a little bit in this area, like a soft bump. Sculpting a cingulum is the most defining features of one tree. Don't skip it. The cingulum will make your tooth look more realistic. As you carve, the cingulum should feel more rounded and smooth. The transition from the cingulum to the rest of the palatal surface should be gradual without any harsh lines. Next up, the palatal groove. It is not deep, but it is noticeable. Carve a shallow groove down the center of the palatal surface, just below the incisor edge. The groove should flow vertically, following the natural curve of the tooth. Don't make it too deep, just enough to recreate a soft indent. It is a small detail, but it makes all the difference when you look at the almost finished tooth. Now let's work our way down to the root again. The transition from the palatal surface to the root should be seamless. A real canine tooth doesn't just taper sharply at the bottom. It gradually narrows with a smooth curve that makes the tooth look natural. Here, you can define the main contour of the root. The canine root typically tapers from the crown to a sharp apex, so carefully carve the shape to reflect that. In this part, before we proceed making the CEJ, we mark by outlining the cervical line on every aspect. Start with the distal side, then proceed until all sides outlined. In this step, you may use your lacquer cover or any finer stone. Use your finer tools to soften any hard lines. Carefully smooth out the areas where the mesial and distal curve meet. Again, a smooth gradual transition will make the tooth look much more lifelike. Now we are creating the developmental depression. Canine root have distinct feature known as the developmental depression. This depression runs along the length of the root, especially on the distal side. Gently carve the indentation starting from the cervical line and working downward. Not too deep, it is just slightly indent. The depression should be narrow near the apex, widening slightly as you approach the cervical area of the root. On the mesial side, it also have a bit of indentation there, so just repeat the same step as distal. Go over your work with Lacron cover and refine the root. At this stage, check for symmetry by comparing both sides of the root. Smooth out the overall surface. Back to the palatal side, along with the cingulum, the canine has a palatal groove, a subtle indentation that runs along the middle of the palatal groove. It is usually not very deep, but it is important to capture it. This cingulum is crucial as it mimics the way a natural canine has a bulge in palatal region, which helps in guiding the movement of the mouth during chewing. This raised part should be smooth but prominent. Don't make it too sharp, just enough to be visible. So you just gently round out the cingulum, shaping it into a smooth, continuous ridge. Step back and examine the grooves. Does it look like it's gently blending into the rest of the curvature? Check from all angles. Does it resemble a real canine tooth in shape and function? If not, make a small adjustment until it feels just right. Use your finest tool to smooth out any rough edges. Give your carving the final polish so it shines like a superhero emblem. Double check your work against reference images to make sure your tooth is ready for its staring rules. Make sure everything transitions smoothly. If not, make a small adjustment until it feels just right. We are almost there. Your tooth should now have the characteristic canine shape, sleek, pointed, and anatomically accurate. Take a moment, step back and admire your work. You have just carved out a fantastic tooth one tree. It is ready to shine in any smile. Feel free to share and celebrate your achievement. With each carve, you are honing your skills and adding to your superhero toolkit. Keep practicing and let your carving skills soar to new heights. Here's to more fun and fantastic dental adventure. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, keep creating, and I'll see you in next adventure.